Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Go ahead, hit the like, hit the share. This video, we're going to talk about Lisa Van Allen and her shady baby daddy. Because it's so funny that when this whole scandal broke out, you had individuals coming out with stories saying that R. Kelly has a sex cult. R. Kelly is holding hostages. But before I get on that, let me just comment on this. It's funny, every time I drop a video, you got these little peons coming out the woodworks trying to stir up some trouble. Now, those that have been following me, and even those new to my channel, you can rest assured with the fact that I don't delete nothing, and I don't change my position on anything I've said. With that being said, for all you little trolls out here trying to create this false narrative, this is all I'm going to say. Now, let's get back to the topic.
They took my gift and they blind me. Where the fuck is my money? Now here come this big ass conspiracy. I still got my fans, that's a blessing. Listen to heaven, just stay on my grind, and that's 24/7. And I know my mama Joanne is smiling down on me. I put that on reverend. Been a grown man since age 11. Lied on the guap since 7. Rest in peace to my homie Kevin. Ain't it, I admit I'm a freak. Used to go to strip clubs every week. But who these niggas tryna say I am? Man, I'm not, and I put that on cheap. I admit I fuck with all the ladies. That's both older and young ladies. But tell me how they call it pedophile because of that shit, that's crazy. You may have your opinions, entitled to your opinions. But really, am I supposed to go to jail or lose my career because your opinion? I admitted how ever since the first day that without knowing I signed my publishing away. Say I'm abusing these women. What the fuck, that's some absurd shit. They brainwashed, really? Kidnapped, really? Can't eat, really? Real talk, that shit sounds silly.
We were in the car when we heard the verdict and we had to pull over. I was a little surprised at how quickly they came to the verdict. But I guess I can't say that I was surprised that they, gave him not guilty, because usually guys with his money, they don't, they usually get a slap on the wrist anyway, so I wasn't surprised.
Now, just when you thought this case against R. Kelly couldn't get any weirder, the plot definitely thickens. Unfortunately, if Lifetime had taken a little time to really check into the characters they presented before the general public, more interesting facts would have been available, especially when it comes to their star actress, Lisa Van Allen. Lisa Van Allen likes to leave out significant details when discussing her experience with R. Kelly. Details like the fact that her baby daddy appears in music videos with R. Kelly. According to Lisa Van Allen, she met R. Kelly on the set of his music video for Home Alone. She leaves out Damon Pryor was also on the set, so it wouldn't be far-fetched to think, considering how unreliable she is, that she really could have met Damon Pryor first. She wants the public to believe she was 17 at the time, when in fact she was really 18, as the video took place in '98. Damon Pryor also appeared in Be Careful, a video by Sparkle, in 1998. Sparkle and R. Kelly eventually fell out, and like others, was used to create the false narrative that it was her niece in the sex tape. According to articles from the first trial, Damon Pryor was supposed to be a surprise witness to discredit Van Allen. However, his testimony was not really needed after the defense for Kelly made his case in showing her true character. And again, you can go on my site, www.primadonnaproductionsllc, to get a close look at these receipts that I've compiled. And also you will see things like this. The video that discusses everything that I'm referring to. This video came straight from the news that was detailing how the defense had their surprise witness and had to interview him.
Court proceedings in the R. Kelly trial called off early today as Kelly's defense team claimed that they may be able to discredit a witness that was on the stand for the prosecution. SEAL TV's Randy Bellosomo joining us now from 26 in California with more on that. Hi, Randy.
Hi, Sean. It happened during the lunch break, and it took everyone by surprise. The defense said they have a witness they need to interview, but they can't do that until later tonight. After all had cleared courtroom 500 for the midday recess, Kelly's defense team threw a curveball at Judge Vincent Gahn. They claimed to be able to produce a witness who could discredit the testimony that was expected later in the day from an Atlanta woman who said she engaged in a three-way sexual encounter with both the defendant and the alleged victim in the case. Though the defense has fought her appearance for weeks now, all seemed clear for her to take the stand until this 11th hour move. In earlier testimony, the court heard from two basketball coaches. Joel Ray headed up the team from Oak Park's Percy Julian Middle School between 1994 and 2003. He coached two of the alleged victims' friends, and the squad squared off against her rivaling team.
And it's funny that with all the people they used as a witness, they get a male basketball coach. How would that male basketball coach be able to tell you what this girl looks like naked? They couldn't find any other female that would be able to testify. Furthermore, they showed this child pornography to this male. But as Pryor stated to the defense attorneys, he told him that the alleged R. Kelly sex tape was actually created by two gentlemen from Kansas City named Chuck and Keith. Now, if you recall, in a Vlad interview with Lisa Van Allen, she mentions that she gave this tape to a man named Keith. But quite strangely, in her testimony on the stand, she stated she never said that. So it seems like to me, they gave this lady immunity to get on the stand and perjure herself. I wonder what the statute of limitation is on perjury. Van Allen, like all others, is a woman scorned. She used the position, enjoyed the lifestyle, and then took part in an extortion scheme. The attorney, Sam Adams Jr., stipulates that his surprise witness is a con man, referring to Pryor. As he cross-examined Van Allen, who did finally take the stand, Adam asked if she's aware of Pryor's many aliases, such as Omar Reeves, Michael Russell, Basal Muhammad, and Jamil Carolina, a handle that Pryor perhaps conjured with the help of the Ron Mexico name generator. He also inquires if Van Allen knew that Pryor had 2 social security numbers, that he had been convicted of federal bank fraud, and that he had previously pulled the surprise witness stunt in a case that sounds even weirder than this one. That of a black nationalist cult leader known as the Green One and or Imperial Grand Potentate Noble, Dr. Malachi Z. York, who was convicted of child molestation, trafficking, and a RICO charge. What's quite interesting about this is this cult that Damon Pryor has began or took part in, and also made a deposition in the case of, is strangely mimicked after this movie by the name of The Indictment. And the case against R. Kelly is strangely charge by charge, almost identical to the charges against this Dr. York. So according to this information, this wasn't the first case in which Pryor was listed as a surprise witness. In 2002, he was deeply involved in the case that accused cult leader Dr. York. And I want you to watch this video because I want you to see how that case and this case against R. Kelly is eerily similar.
But have them sentenced under a more severe sentencing guideline.
I didn't really understand the structure charges, and I believe that I expressed that to the attorney, the U.S. attorney, and I also expressed that to FBI Jelaine, that I didn't really understand the structure charges. And they explained to me that anytime you try to avoid filing that report, then that's a charge. That's a serious charge. And like I stated previously, and I believe I stated this on my testimony on the stand, that Malachi never told us not to file those reports. He never told us to deny any of the tellers any information. If we did deposit over $10,000 and if we were investigated, he never told us not to follow through with us. He never told us not to talk to anyone about it. So and the girls, they would talk about it too. They would talk about how they were sleeping with Jacob. I mean, they would argue about it sometimes, how one would be upset that she was sleeping with Jacob, but they all continued, even though they said about it. They were all sleeping with Jacob. So that's another reason. That's another way he got them, to go along with it, because he's a very manipulative person. He can convince people to say things. He can kind of he can bring it out of people, and especially these girls, because the way we grew up just we were kind of sheltered because we grew up kind of a sheltered life, like any girls would grow up with their fathers having them sheltered, and he kind of played off of their naiveness for certain situations, and he can convince them to do things and say things. And he was very conniving, convincing, manipulating person.
A lot of the young females were very naive to the world that New York was introducing them to. They did not have any idea what it was to go out and party and have access to concerts, have access to money and clothing and cars, and be involved in an explicit, sexually free lifestyle. A lot of them had no idea that was the trap. Meaning offering them those things and saying that this is what, by giving them the glimpse of it by the South Beach trip, it allowed them to say, oh, this is what life is like. This is what it's going to be like once we bring down or get money from Dr. York and sue them for millions of dollars, and we get book deals and go across telling these alleged stories. A lot of them didn't know what they were getting into. They had no idea that the federal government would trap them and put them in a position where they couldn't recant their stories. I mean, these are young girls who, mind you, they haven't experienced a lot of things in life. In the devil's society, they experienced many things in our community, where Dr. York tried to create an environment where young people would enjoy themselves in a positive fashion. But Jacob York used his influence to take them into that world and thus weaken these young people and had them say, okay, we'll go along with the story. They were just ready for anything, not knowing what they were getting into. So the South Beach trip was basically a trap for all of them.
Because we thought it was the right thing to do. So he told us it was the right thing to do. He is a real...
So, if you can't tell, seems like the same scenario. And you can see that Damon Pryor is, in a sense, trying to cover for this man. Isn't it ironic that this Pryor guy was also in that cult, helping them defraud by creating these businesses and creating liens against certain things? And as I pointed out a while ago, from R. Kelly's situation, there's been these liens taken out on his background since the 90s. If you want to watch the whole video, in which it's people that have been trying to expose Damon Pryor for a while now. So I'll put that link in the description so you can see all about his character. Why is the defense trashing its own guy? In the hope that some of that trash sticks to Van Allen, who's shaping up to be the state's star witness. Under direct examination, Van Allen, wearing a low-cut for criminal court black baby doll dress that billows over her 4 months pregnant belly, says she met R. Kelly in 97 or 98 when she was 17. So, of course, they put the two different years, but again, if you go look up when the video came out, it was 98. According to Van Allen, Kelly's cousin, Blackie, sidled over and said that the singer wanted to meet her, and a few moments later, they were having sex in his trailer. Within the year, Van Allen had found gainful employment as the woman who simulates intercourse with Kelly during his stage show. So, according to Van Allen, from meeting R. Kelly on the set, she ends up facilitating a job in which she is a woman who simulates sex on R. Kelly's stage shows. It would appear to some the real reason the defense decided against calling Pryor to the stand was because he would have been an even worse witness that would do more damage than good. Apparently, Pryor was engaging with a cult led by convicted child molester Dr. Malachi York that calls themselves Nuwaubians. Pryor has been accused of falsifying documents to present himself as the son of York and changed his name to Dusa York. On the site, you can see all the photos that I have collected, including the fake Liberian birth certificate Pryor came up with, again, to present himself as this cult leader's son. According to this, he's the self-professed ambassador of the Nuwaubian cult. So Pryor gave a deposition in the case against York, in which York was sentenced to 123 years for not only child molestation, but a RICO charge. Pryor would like the general public to continue following this cult, considering he and others have tried to cover up the fact that the leader was convicted of child molestation, among other charges, and is allegedly still recruiting for the cult. And then we have old Farrakhan again, and it's strange that he would declare this Malachi York as a Messiah.
They heard his brilliant black brother. They saw him building a compound, a small nation here in Georgia. He's Messiah. Trumped up charges. Break up his movement. Put brother in jail. Bring him into court. Fine. If you can't find a way to come for God, find a way to kill him. Find a way to kill him.
Now, as I stated, if it were left up to them, they would have you to believe that Dr. Malachi York was wrongfully convicted. They have put out the narrative that he didn't plead guilty to child molestation, but I'll get to that in a second. Back to Van Allen. According to her, she says she recognized the girl on the tape because of her breasts back then. She felt that they were much bigger than hers. What's interesting about that is family members of the alleged victim all refute the statements Van Allen made, stating the girl in question had smaller breasts, and she was also on tour in between the U.S. and Europe, in which the group members shared a room. Images from the alleged sex tape, and again, how they conveniently leave out the fact that the girl's family, along with the girl, denied that she was on the tape. What's also interesting is they keep changing the age of this victim. During the trial, she was said to have been 13. Now they're saying she was 14. Some may say that's a minor detail, but that makes a difference, considering they're saying that during a specific time frame, she had a certain hairstyle. But let's go on to testimony from that trial in which witnesses identify those on the sex tape.
During testimony today in the child pornography trial of singer R. Kelly, witness after witness identified those on that now infamous sex tape as the alleged victim and R. Kelly. CLTV's Randy Bellosomo was in the courtroom today, joins us now from 26th in California with more. Randy?
Sean, today, for the first time, we heard testimony that identified those on the tape from someone other than a relative, a friend, or a parent of a friend of the alleged victim. We heard from a former employee of R. Kelly who said at first she did not want to believe that it was him. Lindsay Perryman worked for Robert Kelly on and off from 1999 to 2006, doing everything from cleaning floors to handling the defendant's personal business. She told the court that included driving the alleged victim in the now infamous sex tape to and from his Olympia Fields home. She also testified to often seeing the girl at Kelly's recording studio, sometimes carrying a pillow and an overnight bag. The image that I saw looks exactly like Mr. Kelly, Perryman said, then IDing the female on the tape, citing her facial features and her cheekbones. During cross-examination, defense attorney Mark Martin inquired about Perryman's purported master's degree from a recording conservatory in Arizona, a degree she said took only months to acquire. I didn't go to Oxford or Harvard, no, Perryman replied. Also taking the stand was Jada Burnett, a family friend of the alleged victim. She said the female on the tape was about 12 or 13 at the time and noted her distinctive cheeks and facial structure. However, that's as far as she could go. Here's an exchange during cross-examination by defense attorney Sam Adam Jr. At some point, you'd have had to have seen her naked. You were so close, right? I've never seen her naked. 22-year-old Raven Gangler testified as well, saying the girl on the tape was her friend from junior high. She said that was something that was absolute and said the alleged victim was very proud of her relationship with R. Kelly. R. Kelly sat expressionless through most of the day's proceedings, and occasionally he would whisper something to attorney Eddie Jensen. If convicted, he could face up to 15 years in prison. Reporting from 26th in California, Randy Bellosomo, CLTV News. Sean, back to you.
Randy, thank you very much.
Strange, they're just showing this tape around to all these different people. And like I've said before, people want to rant and rave about holding people accountable. Just keep that same energy towards everybody. According to this article, because what some people keep overlooking is that the same person that has been following this story for 20 years and planting all these narratives on all these media sites and even appearing in the second Surviving R. Kelly, Jim Derogatis refused to testify. He invoked his Fifth Amendment. So without the chance to grill Derogatis about his involvement, Kelly's attorney opened their defense with 3 relatives who testified they didn't recognize either participant in the video. Their statements countered a parade of prosecution witnesses called to identify the two as Kelly and his godchild. It definitely wasn't her on the tape, Shona Edwards testified Wednesday. Edwards also testified that she shared hotel rooms with the alleged victim when their Christian pop group toured the United States and Europe between 1998 and 2007. When her relative was a teen, she had much smaller breasts than the video's well-endowed female participant, Edwards said. Maybe, that is because that well-endowed participant is not the alleged victim. It's true that R. Kelly may have had a sex tape, but they would be no different than any other male who has had sex tapes. They have only tried to spin the narrative in an effort to extort this man, and it should be clear. Many people don't know just how much Carrie Kelly looked like R. Kelly back then. And for him to keep saying now that R. Kelly's attorneys then tried to accuse him of being on the tape and tell him to take the blame, that's bullshit. I have not found one source with that information on it. Not one. And Carrie Kelly did appear at the trial. I think, if you ask me, the reason why Carrie Kelly volunteered that information is because he was on the sex tape. To sit on national TV and say that you mistakenly took a tape that you thought was a movie. Never mind, there's all these video stores and other ways you could access this movie than to steal a VHS tape. That just shows even more your character and why you would steal a fucking VHS tape. Something so petty. Was it his tape from the beginning? According to this article, they would say that Van Allen made herself cry on the stand, admitted that she stole R. Kelly's $20,000 diamond-encrusted Rolex. Considering her testimony, it's obvious that she conspired to extort money from the singer, and she was offered to change her testimony for cash. They also wanted to point out the fact that clearly Van Allen has a thing for men who have been convicted of federal bank fraud, as not only Pryor has this same type of record, so did her fiance, Yul Brown, who during the interview states he made sure that Lisa Van Allen was not on the sex tape. Wouldn't that imply that this tape was then edited? So that would mean it's not original. So how can that be admissible in court if they don't even have an original tape? How even now can this be admissible evidence if they go from it being a VHS tape to a DVD to a USB? It's too much going on with this so-called evidence, might I say. According to Van Allen's testimony then, in 2002, she denies that she ever said anything about Chuck and Keith in Kansas City making the sex tape at issue in this trial. The Chuck and Keith theory might sound completely insane, except for the fact that Van Allen admits that she went to Kelly just last year with an offer to help him recover a different sex tape. So, years after the fact, she wants to pop back up and offer to help him get back a different sex tape. Myrtle eventually came to Chicago with the tape, she says, and they watched it in a hotel room with a handful of Robert's people. The singer's accountant then gave Van Allen and Kansas City Keith $20,000 apiece. The tape has never been seen again. And the accountant in which they refer to is Daryl McDavid. Of course, Adam is somewhat on thin ice here, but his point in bringing this up was to establish Van Allen's extortionate ways. They also have left out in this plot the Minnesota woman, Lena Prado, has not been mentioned in court before, but Van Allen said she had known her since 1999. Van Allen did admit to stealing the $20,000, but she said that's not what R. Kelly was on trial for. So, to bring in this Atlena Prado, she is the Minnesota accuser, also known as Beverly, as told by others. This is a girl in which partook in threesomes with who I believe to be Van Allen and her baby daddy, Damon Pryor. Because if you do the research on Damon Pryor, he has about 8 baby mamas, in which it has been said that he likes to watch his girls participate in this type of activity, and that he has supervised this type of activity with other people. To counteract the fact that Lisa Van Allen is now, or was then, trying to act like she never told Pryor about this Chuck and Keith character, you have a reporter by the name of Kim Jansen who was recently tweeting about this case. And you can go and look at all the tweets he made. And we even had conversation in which I pointed out the fact, doesn't this look like extortion to you? It details how Chuck and Keith were setting up press conferences in what appeared to be a shakedown. But according to him, he never got the opportunity to meet with the two characters. Anybody with eyes can see, with the sex tapes that have been released and leaked in an effort to extort R. Kelly, the images seen do not add up. Mere observation led me to believe that Damon Pryor is one of the individuals in the alleged R. Kelly sex tape. However, he's not the only one. Now, as I mentioned a little while ago, people forget how closely Carrie Kelly used to resemble his brother. I'll be making a detailed video on Carrie Kelly as well, but I also included photos of the two because many didn't know that Carrie Kelly was also in some of R. Kelly's music videos. And you can see how dramatic his image has changed. Considering in the current case against Kelly, accusers attorney Michael Avenatti broke the law by showing this new tape that he claims to have to CNN anchors and discussing it for the news. But nobody's talking about that. As I said before, R. Kelly may have had sex tapes, like many do. However, I believe any woman involved was an adult. It's clear there is a lot of deception when it comes to this alleged tape. At this point, any such tape should be inadmissible. Period. Now, according to Lisa Van Allen's story, R. Kelly always had these tapes with him. And yet she expects us to believe that just one day he left them unattended. I don't believe it. As I've pointed out before, when Wayne Williams first met R. Kelly, he was walking around, he said, with a bag full of music on tapes. So who's to say these tapes were not music tapes? And Lisa Van Allen has yet again distorted the truth. If you do your research, you will notice that around the same time that people were trying to extort R. Kelly, they were also trying to extort the gospel singer Dillon Richardson, who was married to a famous baseball player. The thing they did was they called the FBI, which is what R. Kelly's team should have done had they not been a part of the bullshit. As always, I would like to shout out those supporting the channel, those sharing the videos. That's the most important thing you can do. That's all I really ask for. We have to work together to get this information out. Period. My focus is on the people who don't necessarily support R. Kelly. For the simple fact, it makes no sense to keep repeating the same information to people that support him when we need to reach the people who are against him. Just a thought. Have a great day. Oh, and I just wanted to throw that in there also because so many people are worried about what the hell I used to do with my old photos. Not that it's any of your business, but I put them on merch. And I sold them online to the fan base that I build off of my own name. Now run tell that. Have a great day.